Hello, I'm Ariam, and I've decided I am going to do Orilium this month after all, hopefully, with God's help. So, if you don't know what Orilium is, it is a readathon by Book Roast on YouTube, and you have a character who basically goes to magic school and learns a degree, and you have 2 semesters a year, one in April, one in September, and basically you have to read a reading prompt for the classes your character learns. So now I have 2 characters. One is Ori, who is learning to be a beastmaster, which is basically a veterinarian, and Estella, who is learning to be a healer and an archmage. So we're going to start with finding books for Ori. This is my TBR. So the first thing we have to find is so he has to take the classes of alchemy, animal studies, elemental studies, lore, and restoration. The first one we're going to find is for alchemy. The prompt for that is all capitals, which is really hard. Let's see. Oh, this is currently April 9th, so I am going to read books that I read in April as long as I start them also in April, because I've already read a bunch of books. So the book I'm going to do for that is one that I have already read, which is Treaty Words for As Long as Rivers Flow by Amy Craft and illustrated by Luke Swinson. Okay, next is Animal Studies, which is steal a book from someone else's TBR. So I don't love that. I definitely do not love that. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I look like what I feel like is a ton of TBRs, and I can't find anything I want to read. So I think there is an option to kind of pay with points that your characters got. I mean, obviously you don't actually need to pay with the points, but anyways, if you want to, and I do find it fun to kind of engage in this gameplay, to pay with points that your characters have, like money, and switch the prompt for a different prompt. So I might do that. I might come back to that and do that if I really can't find a book for it. But the next subject Ori has to read for is Elemental Studies, which is fruit on the cover. And I think I have a book that works perfect for this. Okay, so the one I have for this is The Apple Tree Throne by Premi Mohammed. So this one, I read a different book by her, The Butcher of the Forest, and I really, really, really liked it. This one also, I think it's also a novella and not a full-length novel. And this one is a historical fantasy instead of a fairy tale fantasy, but it does seem from the summary to have a lot of the same vibes. I might get the audiobook, but we'll see. So I hope I really like this one as well, because I have a lot of her books on my TBR even from before I read The Butcher of the Forest. Okay, so then the next subject that we have to read for is lore, which is a musical term in the title. And I have a feeling that that's going to be really hard. I actually found something. Noteworthy by Riley Redgate, which is about a YA book about a teenager who is an alto and a teenage girl who accidentally gets accepted as a tenor to a boys' choir and how she figures it out. It sounds fun. Could go good or badly. Well or badly. We'll see. And the last subject that Ori has to read for is Restoration, which is a book with a 4+ average star rating. So I'm going to use Goodreads for this. So see you soon. So I found a book with over a 4-star rating. This is one that I've already read, which is The Day the River Caught Fire, How the Cuyahoga River ignited and ignited the Earthly Movement by Barry Wittenstein and illustrated by Jesse, see your last name again? Hartland, I believe. Jesse Hartland. Okay, so that is what we finished. So now we need to move to Estella, who is studying, as I said, to be a healer and an archmage. So that's actually 2 different degrees, but there are quite a few stuff that overlap. Because archmage is basically just studying all the magic ever. So her classes are alchemy, art of illusion, artificery, conjuration, elemental studies, inscription, restoration, and spells and incantations. So alchemy again is all capitals. And that one I can also do a book that I already read, which is Returning to the Yakoun River by Sarah Florence Davidson, Richard Davidson, and illustrated by, so many tabs open, Janine Gibbons. That's one's done. Next is Art of Illusion, which is a book I already plan to read this month. So again, that I'm going to do something that I already read. So for this month, there's also another little readathon in this readathon, which is you read a book a month for characters. You're going on an adventure. So I have 2 characters, 2 different ones from these. And the prompt was read a book with the word river in the title. And for one of the characters, I read I Talk Like a River by Jordan Scott, which is also illustrated by him. Okay, the next one is Artificery. Check time and title length to match. So it is exactly 10 o'clock. So let's see if we can find a title that is 22 words long. 22 letters long, I mean. Oh, okay, let's see. That is definitely not 22 letters long. Nope, that's 15. Yeah, that's not it, and that's 4 letters long. Okay, let's see if I can find something. Okay, so the book I want to read for that prompt is The Monster of Elendhaven by Jennifer Giesbrecht, which is a horror book, an eldritch horror book about a city which has a monster inside it. Okay, then the next prompt is Conjuration, random country generator times 5 for author. So I already generated a while ago 5 countries, randomly generated, and the countries I got were China, Namibia, North Korea, Canada, and Romania. So I don't think I have anything for Namibia. That I have anything for Romania. China, North Korea, and Canada are all options. North Korea because of memoirs of people who escaped from North Korea. Let's see what I want to read. So it turns out Prami Muhammad is Canadian, and she has a short story collection, No One Will Come Back for Us, which seems to be a collection of eldritch horror and dark fantasy. Okay, next one is, once again, Elemental Studies, Fruit on the Cover. And for that, there was only one other book on my TBR with fruit on the cover, which is Passage West by Rishi Reddy. So this seems to be a historical fiction about a man from Punjab who arrives in the US to work. Sounds good. Sounds interesting. Sounds like something that I definitely don't know a lot about. The next one is Inscription, which is a first sentence challenge. Try 3 and then choose one of the best. So I took a bunch of books out from the library, and usually I take only like 1 or 2 books out at a time, so I know which one I'm going to read. But in this case, I didn't. So I'm going to take 3, and because I read the ones I took out first to return to the library first, obviously. So this time I didn't. So let's see which one I will read. So let's just... Okay, so the first book is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark. So let's read the first sentence. Some years ago, there was in the city of York a society of magicians. Okay, not super interesting. Then I have The Book of Coley by M.R. Carey. Oh, this starts really. I got a story to tell you. Actually, I like that better. I don't know, maybe I like it worse. And then I have Ta'atuim by Etty Alboin. Let's see. Me'olam lo yatzati Megilando, which means I've never gone out from Megilando. Gotta be honest, none of these are super interesting to me. Like, maybe this one would be more interesting to me if I was younger. This one, it's definitely a YA book, and you can kind of tell that from the first sentence. So I've got a story to tell you. It is kind of interesting because it's very different from books, from the way that a lot of books start. Like, most of these books, like, basically start with exposition, and this one is like, I got a story to tell you. But I do do like the idea of there being, of the way it was written some years ago. I really like that. It sounds very like The Woman in White, which I loved. Let's see exactly. Try 3, pick the best. So I think objectively the best is probably the Book of Colleen. So that will be the one I add to my TBR. But also that one was good. Oh, goodness. You know what? Actually, I changed my mind. I'm putting Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell on. You know, 1,000+ page book, of course. Okay. Then the next one is Elementals. We did that, sorry. Next one is Restoration. Book, again, a book with a 4+ average rating. So let's go to Goodreads. Unfortunately, the files got corrupted, so it's the next day. And I'm coming back to tell you that Restoration, as I said, was a book with a 4+ star average star rating. So again, I'm choosing a book. I chose a book that I already read, which is River of Dust, The Life-Giving Link Between North Africa and the Amazon by Gillian Hoffman, illustrated by Eugenia Mello. And then I just had one book left, which is Spells and Incantation, which the prompt put for that was a word from your last book title, which I chose River, again, a book I already read, River of Mariposas by Norrell Ortega, which was actually the last River book I read. So I realized a few things while writing the books down on my TBR. So first of all, I Talk Like a River was not illustrated by Jordan Scott. It was only written by him. Sydney Smith illustrated it. Treaty Words for As Long as the River Flows by Amy Kraft was illustrated by Luke Swinson. And, most importantly, Animal Studies I said I would go back to. I couldn't find any book I wanted to steal. So I'm going to buy a different prompt. I'm going to take the prompt for Art of Illusion and use a book I already planned for this month, which is Magic's Price by Mercedes Lackey. So all in all, my TBR for Orilium is, let's start with books I already read. Treaty Words for As Long as the River Flows by Amy Kraft and Luke Swinson. The Day the River Caught Fire, How the Cuyahoga River Exploded and Ignited the Earth Day Movement by Barry Wittenstein and Jesse Hartland. Returning to the Yakoun River by Sarah Florence Davidson, Robert Davidson, and Janine Gibbons. I Talk Like a River by Jordan Scott and Sydney Smith. River of Dust, The Life-Giving Link Between North Africa and the Amazon by Gillian Hoffman and Eugenia Mello. And River of Mariposas by Norrell Ortega. So those are all the books I already read. And the books I have not read yet, and obviously these can change. I might change my mind about which book I want to read for these prompts, but the books I have not read yet are Magic's Price by Mercedes Lackey, or Lackey, I don't know. The Apple Tree Throne by Premi Mohammed. Noteworthy by Riley Redgate. The Monster of Elendhaven by Jennifer Giesbrecht. No One Will Come Back for Us, also by Premi Mohammed. Passage West by Rishi Reddy. And Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark.